हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल। तो आज के वीडियो में हम देखने वाले हैं एनसीईआरटी इकोनॉमिक का टेस्ट सीरीज़। तो आज हम शुरू करेंगे set-1। तो शुरू करते हैं हमारा आज का टेस्ट सीरीज़ और आप भी मेरे साथ अटेंड कीजिए और अगर आपका आंसर आता है तो मुझे कमेंट्स में बताइए। सो हमारा फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन है, व्हाट विल बी द रियल एक्सप्रेशन फॉर द मेजरमेंट ऑफ नेशनल इनकम? NNP at market prices minus indirect taxes plus subsidies, NNP at factor cost minus indirect taxes minus subsidies, NNP at market price minus direct tax plus subsidies, NNP at factor cost minus direct tax minus subsidies। तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए, NNP at market prices minus indirect taxes plus subsidies। Currently, what is the base year for calculating the gross domestic product (GDP) in India? 2008 to 9, 2010 to 11, 2011 to 12, 2012 to 13। तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, 2011 to 12। What do you understand by disposable personal income? It is obtained by subtracting direct taxes from personal income. It is obtained by adding the direct taxes in personal income. It is obtained by subtracting indirect taxes from personal income. It is obtained by adding per capita indirect taxes in the personal income। तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए, इट इज़ obtained by subtracting direct taxes from personal income। Real national income denotes national income at constant prices, per capita income, national income at current prices, net factor income। तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए, नेशनल इनकम एट कांस्टेंट प्राइसेस। The per capita income is obtained by summing of the income of all the citizens of the country, dividing national income by population, estimating the minimum income of individual citizens, dividing the total national capital with the profit earned। तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन बी, डिवाइडिंग नेशनल इनकम बाय पॉपुलेशन। Which of the following methods of national income calculation are used in India for the primary sector? Expenditure method, output method, income method। Choose the correct one। तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन बी, ओनली 2, आउटपुट मेथड। Read the statements carefully. GNP equals to GDP plus net factor income from abroad. NNP equals to GNP minus depreciation. NNP at factor cost equals to NNP at market price minus indirect taxes plus subsidies। Which of these statements is or are correct? तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी, ऑल 1, 2 and 3। GNP equals to GDP plus net factor income from abroad, NNP equals to GNP minus depreciation, and NNP at factor cost equals to NNP at market price minus indirect taxes plus subsidies। Consider the following statements. Poverty eradication became important issue during the 4th 5-year plan. Poverty eradication was main objective in the 5th 5-year plan। Which of the following statements is or are correct? तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, बोथ 1 and 2। Poverty eradication became important issue during the 4th 5-year plan and poverty eradication was the main objective in the 5th 5-year plan। Consider the following regarding the 11th 5-year plan 2007 to 12। It provided a comprehensive strategy for inclusive development, building on the growing strength of the economy while also addressing weaknesses that have surfaced। India has recorded an average annual income growth rate of 8% during the 11th 5-year plan compared with the targeted 9%। Choose the correct statement or statements with regard to the 11th plan। तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, बोथ 1 and 2। It provided a comprehensive strategy for inclusive development, building on the growing strength of the economy while also addressing weaknesses that have surfaced. And India has recorded an average annual economic growth rate of 8% during the 11th five-year plan compared with the targeted 9%. The main objective of the fourth five-year plan include growth to stability, progress towards self-reliance. Choose the correct one. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, बोथ 1 and 2, growth and stability and progress towards self-reliance. Which of the following is the theme of the 12th five-year plan? Faster, sustainable and inclusive growth, faster, sustainable and more inclusive growth, faster development and sustainable growth, faster developmental and more sustainable growth. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन बी, faster, sustainable and more inclusive growth. Which of the following body finalizes the five-year plan proposals? Planning Commission, Union Cabinet, National Development Council, Ministry of Planning. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, नेशनल डेवलपमेंट काउंसिल. Which one of the following is not an objective of India's economic planning? Population growth, industrial growth, self-reliance, employment generation. इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए, पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ. Consider the following statements. Service tax was introduced in 1994-95 on 3 services. At present rate of service tax is 10%. तो इसका आंसर है सी, both 1 and 2. Service tax was introduced in 1994-95 on 3 services and at present rate of service tax is 10%. The 13th Finance Commission recommendation includes states to get 32% of central tax, total transfer to states on the revenue account be capped at 39.5% of the center's gross tax revenue. Which of the statements is correct? This answer is option C, both 1 and 2. States to get 32% of central tax and total transfer to states on the revenue account be capped at 39.5% of the center's gross tax revenue. Internal debt of the Government of India includes loans raised by the government in the open market through treasury bills and government securities, special securities issued to the RBI, oil bonds. Choose the correct one. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी, ऑल 1, 2 and 3. Loans raised by the government in the open market through treasury bills and government securities, special securities issued to the RBI and oil bonds. Consider the following statements. Primary deficit cannot be higher than fiscal deficit. Primary deficit is obtained by deducting interest rates from revenue deficit. Fiscal deficit cannot be lower than budget deficit. Which of the above statements is or are not correct? तो इसमें नॉट करेक्ट पूछा है, तो इसका आंसर होगा ऑप्शन सी, 2 ओनली. चूँकि प्राइमरी डेफिसिट इज ऑब्टेन्ड बाय डिडक्टिंग इंटरेस्ट रेट्स फ्रॉम रेवेन्यू डेफिसिट. The first union budget of independent India was presented by R.K. Shanmugam Chetty, Jawaharlal Nehru, A.K. Gopalan, V.K. Krishna Menon. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए, R.K. Shanmugam Chetty. Match the following. List 1. Income tax, corporation tax, professional tax, stamp duties. List 2. Levied and collected by the central government, levied and collected by the central government and shared with the state governments, levied by the central government but collected and appropriated by the state governments, levied and collected by the state governments, levied and collected by the local bodies. तो इसको अगर हम मैच करेंगे तो ए का होगा इनकम टैक्स का होगा levied and collected by central governments and shared with the state governments. कॉरपोरेशन टैक्स का होगा levied and collected by the central government. प्रोफेशनल टैक्स का होगा levied and collected by the state government. और स्टैम्प ड्यूटीज़ का होगा levied and collected by the local elected by the central government but collected and appropriated by the state government. तो इसका आंसर होगा ऑप्शन सी 2143. ए का 2, बी का 1, सी का 4 और डी का 3. The budget deficit means the excess of total expenditure including loans net of lending over revenue receipts. Difference between revenue receipts and revenue expenditure. Difference between all receipts and all the expenditure. Fiscal deficit less interest payments. इसका आंसर होगा option C. Difference between all receipts and all the expenditures. Consider the following statements. The taxation system in the Republic of India is quite well structured. The Department of Revenue of the Finance Ministry of the Government of India is responsible for the computation, levy as well as collection of most the taxes in the country. Some of the taxes are even levied solely by the local state bodies or the respective government of the different states in the nation. Select the correct ones using the code given below. इसका आंसर होगा ऑप्शन ए 1, 2 and 3. The taxation systems in the Republic of India is quite well structured. The Department of Revenue of the Finance Ministry of the Government of India is responsible for the computation, levy as well as collection of most the taxes in the country. Some of the taxes are even levied solely by the local state bodies or the respective governments of the different states in the nation. Department under the Ministry of Finance include Economic Affairs, Expenditures, Disinvestment. Choose the correct one. This answer is option D, all 1, 2 and 3. Economic Affairs, Expenditure and Disinvestment. Which of the following is not a monetary policy tool? Call money market, commercial paper, open market operations, liquidity adjustment facility. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. तो इसमें नॉट ए मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी टूल पूछा है, तो इसका आंसर होगा ऑप्शन बी 1 and 2 ओनली. कॉल मनी मार्केट और कमर्शियल पेपर, ये दो मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी टूल नहीं है. Which is the most populated urban agglomerate in the world? टोक्यो, ग्वांगझो, मुंबई, न्यूयॉर्क. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन बी ग्वांगझो. Consider the following statements. India has the second largest population of older 60 plus persons in the world. In 2011, number of old age people in the country was close to 100 million. Which of these statements is correct? This answer is option C, both 1 and 2. India has the second largest population of older 60 plus persons in the world, and in 2011, number of old age people in the country was close to 100 million. Growth rate of population was very high during the period 1951 to 81. Some reasons are given. High birth rate, decline in death rate at a faster rate as compared to decline in birth rate, both, none. Which of the reasons are correct? तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, बोथ 1 and 2. मतलब हाई बर्थ रेट एंड डिक्लाइन इन डेथ रेट एट ए फास्टर रेट एज कम्पेयर टू डिक्लाइन इन बर्थ रेट. To harness the demographic dividend, policy attention needs to be immediately focused on which of the following areas? Agricultural development, strengthening macroeconomic stability, strengthening of infrastructure both social and physical, non-agrarian sector employment. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी, non-agrarian sector employment. The government has decided to create a national population register for the country. In this context, consider the following statements. It is aimed at capturing personal details of residents of the country. It will capture photographs and fingerprints of all residents who are of age 15 years and above in villages or urban areas. Which of the statements is or are correct? This answer option C, both 1 and 2. It is aimed at capturing personal data of the residents of the country, and it will capture photographs and fingerprints of all residents who are of age 15 years and above in villages or urban areas. Which of the following statements about the Human Development Index are correct? It is a comparative measuring of life expectancy, literacy, education, standards of living, and quality of life for countries worldwide. It is a standard means of measuring well-being, especially child welfare. It is used to distinguish whether the country is a developing, or an underdeveloped country, and also to measure the impact of economic policies on quality of life. The index was developed in 1990 by 3 economists from the USA. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. This answer option C, 1, 2 and 3. It is a comparative measure of life expectancy, literacy, education, standards of living, and quality of life for countries worldwide. It is a standard means of measuring well-being, especially child welfare, and it is used to distinguish whether the country is a developing, or an underdeveloped country, and also to measure the impact of the economic policies on quality of life. Consider the following statements. Sale of government securities by the RBI injects money into the market and thus expands credit. Open market operations don't change the total stock of government securities but change the proportion held by the RBI, commercial and cooperative banks. Which of these statements is or correct? This answer option B, only 2. Open market operations don't change the total stock of government securities but change the proportion held by the RBI, commercial and cooperative banks. What is bank rate? It is a rate of interest at which the central bank of the country provides refinancing facility to commercial banks. It is a rate of interest at which the commercial banks give the credit to the prime borrowers. It is a rate of interest at which the commercial bank gives the credit to all borrowers, none of the above. This answer option A. It is a rate of interest at which the central bank of the country provides refinancing facility to commercial banks. Which of the following is or are regulated by RBI? EXIM Bank, NABARD, National Housing Bank, SIDBI. कोड, तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी, ऑल 1, 2, 3 and 4. EXIM Bank, NABARD, National Housing Bank and SIDBI. Once interest rates become zero or near zero through conventional monetary policy, the central banks can do nothing more. Economists call it as liquidity trap, market stabilization, quantitative easing, depth trap. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए, लिक्विडिटी ट्रैप. Consider the following statement. Inclusive growth includes strengthening of financial sector, NBFCs in India cannot buy securities issued by the government. Disinvestment of PSU is a second generation economic reform. The base rate of commercial banks in India is determined by RBI. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी 1, 2, 3 and 4. मतलब inclusive growth includes strengthening of financial sector. NBFCs in India cannot buy securities issued by the government. Disinvestment of PSUs is a second generation economic reforms, and the base rate of commercial banks in India is determined by RBI. Which among the following was the first bank purely managed by Indians? Oath Commercial Bank, Punjab National Bank, Bank of India, Allahabad Hyde. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन बी पंजाब नेशनल बैंक. Select the NRI bank account from the given list which India does not permit to be opened in the country. Foreign currency non-resident bank account, FCNRB account, non-resident external account, NRE account, non-resident ordinary rupee account, NRO account, none of the above. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी नन ऑफ द अबव. The Reserve Bank of India regulates the commercial banks in matters of liquidity of assets, branch expansion, merger of banks, winding up of banks. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी 1, 2, 3 and 4. Liquidity of assets, branch expansion, merger of banks and winding up of banks. Consider the following. Decoupling means that a nation's economy may not be entirely dependent on the global economy. IDR are used by a non-Indian company to Indian investors for its listing on Indian stock exchange. Which of the statements is or are correct? इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी both 1 and 2. Decoupling means that a nation's economy may not be entirely dependent on the global economy, and the IDR are used by a non-Indian company to Indian investors for its listing on Indian stock exchange. Foreign exchange reserves in India includes foreign exchange assets of RBI, gold stock of RBI, SDR holding of the government. इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी ऑल 1, 2 and 3. Foreign exchange assets of RBI, gold stock of RBI and SDR holding of the government. Consider the following regarding SEZ. Tax exemptions are allowed to units and SEZ developers from all indirect taxes. The units are entitled for income tax for 15 years. Which of the statements is or are correct? इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी both 1 and 2. Tax exemptions are allowed to units and SEZ developers from all indirect taxes, and the units are entitled for income tax for 15 years. Which of the following is not part of capital account? Foreign loans, foreign direct investment, private remittances, portfolio investment. Which of the above statements is or are correct? तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी 3 ओनली. तो इसमें पूछा नॉट पार्ट ऑफ कैपिटल अकाउंट, तो इसका आंसर है प्राइवेट रेमिटेंसेस. Which of the following are the contributors for the decline of current account deficit? Restrictions on non-essential imports, currency swap agreement of RBI, demand slowdown, increase in exports. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी 1, 2, 3 and 4. Restrictions on non-essential imports, currency swap agreement of RBI, demand slowdown and increase in exports. In 2013, the rise in India's external debt was mainly due to external commercial borrowings, multilateral borrowings, trade credits, NRI deposits. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी NRI deposits. Consider the following function of the Foreign Exchange Management Act, FEMA. FEMA restricts activities such as payments made to any person outside India and receipts from them. FEMA imposes restriction on people living in India who carry out transactions in foreign exchange, foreign security, or who own or hold immovable property abroad. FEMA regulates the exports to furnish their export details to RBI. Which of the statements given above is correct? Is consider option A, 1, 2, and 3. FEMA restricts activities such as payments made to any person outside India and received from them. FEMA imposes restriction on people living in India who carry out transactions in foreign exchange, foreign security, or who own or hold immovable property abroad. And FEMA regulates the exporters to furnish their export details to RBI. Many times we read in newspaper that several companies are adopting the FCCB's route to raise capital. What is the full form of FCCBS? Foreign Currency Convertible Bonds, Foreign Consortium and Credit Bureau, Financial Consortium and Credit Bureau, Future Credit and Currency Bureau. This consider option A, Foreign Currency Convertible Bonds. Consider the following statements. The special drawing right is a monetary unit of international reserve assets defined and maintained by the International Monetary Fund. The SDR is weighted sum of contributions of 5 major currencies: Euro, British Pound, US Dollar, Japanese Yen, and the Chinese Yuan. SDRs are allocated to member states as a low-cost alternative to debt financing for building reserves, carrying an interest rate that is computed on a weekly basis. Which of the statements given above is correct? Is considered option C, 1 and 3 only. The special drawing rights is a monetary unit of the international reserve assets defined and maintained by the International Monetary Fund, and SDRs are allocated to member states as a low-cost alternative to debt financing for building reserves, carrying an interest rate that is computed on a weekly basis. Which of the following missions given below is the main submission of the Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission? Integrated housing and slum development programs, development of women and children in urban areas, basic services to the urban poor, both A and C. Please consider option D, both A and C. Integrated housing and slum development programs and basic services to the urban poor. The Union Home Ministry launched program named UDAN in 2011. Which of the following are true about that program? It is a private sector-led skill training program for graduates and postgraduates in Jammu and Kashmir. It is targeted to make 40,000 people in Jammu and Kashmir skilled and placed in employment over a span of 5 years. Please consider option C, both 1 and 2. Consider the following statements. Life insurance business provided under the Aam Aadmi Bima Yojana and Janashri Bima Yojana is liable for service tax. AABY covers death and disability insurance for the benefit of rural landless households. JBY provides life insurance protection to people who are below poverty line or marginally above poverty line. Which of the above statements is correct? Is consider option A, 1, 2, and 3. A program which aims to improve the socio-economic standards of the minority community. Multi-sectoral development program, 20-point program for minorities, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. This consider option A, multi-sectoral development program. The Government of India fixes the minimum support prices after taking into account the recommendations of which among the following bodies? Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Cabinet Committee of Economic Affairs, Planning Commission, Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices. Next consider option D, Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices. Consider the following. The National Food Security Mission has been launched for enhancing the production of rice, wheat, and pulses. National Institute of Agricultural Marketing is a premium national level institute set up by the Government of India. Which of these statements is or are correct? इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी both 1 and 2. Consider the following. Agriculture Insurance Company of India Limited was set up in 2002 to 3. It is promoted by NABARD, GIC and its subsidiaries. Which of these statements is or are correct? This answer is option C both 1 and 2. Consider the following. The National Commission on Farmers has drawn attention to the knowledge deficit that exists at present and explains much of the difference between yields realized in experiments and what farmers actually get. The commission was headed by M.S. Swaminathan. Which of these statements is or are correct? This answer is option C both 1 and 2. Consider the following statements. India meets 80% of its urea requirement through indigenous production. India largely import dependent for meeting its requirement of the potassic and phosphatic fertilizer requirements. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? This answer is option D neither 1 nor 2. India is a leading vegetable producing country in the world. India has potential to become one of the largest vegetable exporters in the world due to its agroclimatic diversity. Consider the following statements. Potato being the staple food and easy to mix in several preparation ranks. First in total production of vegetables. Among high-value commodities going for vegetable production and vegetable entrepreneurship is the best option for small and marginal farmers in India. Select the correct statements using the codes given below. This answer is option C both 1 and 2. Consider the following statements. In India, due to the adoption of BT cotton, there is a tremendous increase in cotton production over the last decade. In India, productivity levels of rice and wheat have not increased significantly after the 1980s. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. This answer is option C both 1 and 2. In India, due to the adoption of BT cotton, there is a tremendous increase in cotton production over the last decade. And in India, productivity levels of rice and wheat have not increased significantly after the 1980s. Consider the following statements about the National Cooperative Marketing Federation of India Limited, NCERT. NCERT promotes the interstate trade as well as export of certain agricultural commodities to many foreign countries. NCERT is responsible for the movement of the essential commodities from surplus areas to scarcity areas. This answer is option C both 1 and 2. Which of the following statements about agro and allied activities is not correct? Farmers do not get adequate credit for purchase of cattle. There is no need to improve breed as genetic characteristic of the cattle flock. India has huge forest cover and also degraded marshy land which can be used for productive purposes. India is the 10th largest producer of medicinal and aromatic plants, but the products are not commercial value. तो इसमें नॉट करेक्ट पूछा है तो इसका आंसर होगा ऑप्शन डी. India is the 10th largest producer of medicinal and aromatic plants, but the products are not of commercial value. Agricultural credit needs are distinct from those of non-agricultural sector in many respects. Which one of the following does not appear? Needs for agricultural credit remain stable. It is difficult to estimate correctly the credit needs in advance, as is possible in the case of non-agricultural industries. An agriculturist can pass on the risk of his business to other people through the sale of shares. The only tangible asset that agriculturists can offer as security against loan is land itself. तो इसमें डज नॉट अपेयर पूछा है, तो इसका आंसर होगा ऑप्शन सी. एन एग्रीकल्चरिस्ट कैन पास ऑन द रिस्क ऑफ हिज बिजनेस टू अदर पीपल थ्रू द सेल ऑफ शेयर्स. Which of the following is not one of the objectives of disinvestment in public sector enterprises? To consolidate public sector enterprises, to facilitate disinvestment, to protect interest of employees, to expand the ownership base of the public sector enterprises. None of these. तो इसमें not one of the objectives पूछा है, तो इसका आंसर होगा ऑप्शन डी. None of these. Public distribution system is operated under the responsibility of the central government, state government. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, both 1 and 2, central government and state government. MIBOR and MIBID are the terms associated with interbank call money market, treasury bill market, certificate of deposit. None of these. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए, interbank call money market. Among the following, which industries come under the list of compulsory license? Cigars, cigarettes, and other substitutes of prepared tobacco, electronic, aerospace, and all type of defense equipment. Which of the statements is correct? तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, both 1 and 2. Cigars, cigarettes, and other substitutes of prepared tobacco, electronic, aerospace, and all type of defense equipment. The basis of defining industrial sickness is a unit incurring loss for 4 successive years leading to erosion of its net worth of 50% or more, default or failure to repay loans within 9 months of the demand made by the creditors. Which of the following statements are correct? तो इसका आंसर होगा ऑप्शन सी, both 1 and 2. Department of Public Enterprises frame and issue guidelines norms for Navratna status and also grant Navratna status to central public sector units with the approval of central government. Which of the following are such Navratna companies? Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, Steel Authority of India Limited, Oil India Limited, Shipping Corporation of India. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, 1, 3 and 4 only. Bharat Heavy Electrical Limited, Oil India Limited, and Shipping Corporation of India. Which of the following statements about Steel Authority of India are correct? SAIL is India's largest steel producing company with a turnover of rupees 49,350 crore. The company is among the 7 Maharatnas of the country's central public sector enterprises. SAIL has 2 integrated steel plants, 3 special plants. The Government of India owns about 80% of SAIL's equity and retains voting control of the company. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, 1 and 3. SAIL is the India's largest steel producing company with a turnover of rupees 49,350 crore. The company is among the 7 Maharatnas of the country's central public sector enterprises, and the Government of India owns about 80% of SAIL's equity and retains voting control of the company. Consider the following statements. The first cement industry in India was the India Cement Company Limited. The per capita consumption of cement in India is one of the highest in the world. Which of the statements given above are correct? इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए, only 1. The first cement industry in India was the India Cement Company Limited. Consider the following statements. Indicative planning is a feature of mixed economy. Perspective planning is used by socialist countries where each and every aspect of planning is controlled by the state. Which of the above statements is correct? इसका आंसर होगा ऑप्शन ए ओनली वन. इंडिकेटिव प्लानिंग इज ए फीचर ऑफ मिक्स्ड इकोनॉमी. Consider the following. The price of any currency in international market is decided by the World Bank. Demand for goods or services provided by the country concerned. Stability of the government of the concerned country. Choose the correct one. इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन बी ओनली 2 and 3. Demand for goods or services provided by the country concerned and stability of the government of the concerned country. Consider the following regarding the objectives of WTO: to improve the standard of living of people in member countries, to ensure full employment and increase in effective demand, to enlarge production and trade of goods and services. Which of these statements is correct? This answer is option D, all 1, 2 and 3. Which of the following are the objectives of the International Monetary Fund? To minimize exchange rate restriction, to promote balanced international trade, to provide financial assistance in adverse BOP situations. All the above. This answer is option D, all of the above. To minimize exchange rate restriction, to promote balanced international trade, and to provide financial assistance in adverse BOP situation. In order to comply with TRIPS agreement, India enacted the Geographical Indications of Goods Registration Protection Act 1999. The difference or differences between a trademark and a geographical indication is a trademark is an individual or a company's right, whereas a geographical indication is a community's right. A trademark can be licensed, whereas a geographical indication cannot be licensed. A trademark is assigned to the manufactured goods, whereas the geographical indication is assigned the agricultural goods or products and handicrafts only. Which of the statements given above is correct? तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए 1 and 2 only. Consider the following statements. Geographical indicators are WIPO and TRIPS compliant. Geographical indicators can be awarded to individuals. Scissors made in Meerut is the first handmade tool for micro and small industries, which has been registered under the geographical indicators. The GI tag conveys an assurance of quality and distinctiveness, which is essentially attributable to the fact of its origin in the defined geographical locality, region, or country. Which of the above statements is correct? This answer is option C 1, 3 and 4. Which of the focus issues of the World Bank's annual World Development Report given below are correct? WER 2014 examines how improving risk management can lead to larger gains in development and poverty reduction. WDR 2013 focuses on jobs, will help explain and analyze the connection between jobs and important dimension of economic and social development. WDR 2012 focuses on gender equality and development and will focus on the evolution of gender equality across the world in the context of the development process. WDR 2011 focuses on the theme conflict and development. तो इसका आंसर होगा ऑप्शन सी 1, 2, 3 and 4, मतलब all of the above. The Gini coefficient is used to measure what? Inequality of income or health, unemployment rate, environmental pollution, biodiversity distribution. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए inequality of income or health. What is the meaning of disguised unemployment? It is due to mismatch between potential of a person and his actual contribution in production. It is a type of underemployment caused by mismatch between worker skills and the skills needed for available jobs. Both of the above, none of the above. This answer is option A. It is due to mismatch between potential of a person and his actual contribution in production. Which Indian state has the highest graduate unemployment rate? Tamil Nadu, Mizoram, Kerala, Punjab. This answer is option C, Kerala. Which of the following about Uttar Pradesh is correct? UP has the highest rural population. UP has the highest scheduled caste population. UP has the highest scheduled tribe population. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. This answer is option A, 1 and 2 only. UP has the highest rural population and UP has the highest scheduled caste population. Consider the following statements. Minimum Wage Act is only applicable to the scheduled employments of the center and states. Minimum Wages Act has allowed discrimination between male and female workers by prescribing different minimum wages for them. Which of the statements given above is correct? This answer is option A, only one. Minimum Wage Act is only applicable to the scheduled employments of the center and states. Consider the following. The term sustainable development became prominent after the World Conservation Strategy presented in 1980 by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. Sustainable development seeks to meet the needs and aspirations of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Sustainable development concept emphasizes on conservation and improvement of environment. This answer is option D, all 1, 2 and 3. The government approved the proposal of the Ministry of Power of operationalization of the Power System Development Fund in 2014. In which of the following areas the fund will be utilized? Creating necessary transmission systems, installation of shunt capacitors, renovation and modernization of transmission and distribution systems, all of the above. This answer is option C, renovation and modernization of transmissions and distribution system. Which one of the following is the objective of the Special Accelerated Road Development Program for Northeast regions? To improve the road connectivity to remote places and places of strategic importance in any region, to establish the 4-lane ring model of highways connecting all state capitals of any region, to upgrade national highways connecting all state capitals to 2x4 lane and provide connectivity of state district headquarters. Both A and C. Let's consider option D, both A and C, to improve the road connectivity to remote places and places of strategic importance in any region, and to upgrade national highways connecting all state capitals to 2x4 lane and provide connectivity of state district headquarters. Consider the following statements about the liberalization, privatization and globalization model of economic development process in India. The disinvestment of profit-making public sector enterprises, permitting private sector to establish industrial units without taking a license. Chronically sick industries were referred BIFR for the formulation of revival or rehabilitation plan. Which of the process or processes given above is taken after adoption of LPG model? This consider option A, 1, 2 and 3. Consider the following objectives. Saving of middle and low income groups by providing soft loans. Share the benefits and prosperity of the rapidly developing industries with the middle and low income groups. Which of the objectives given above are the main objectives of the Unit Trust of India? This consider option B, only 2. To share the benefits and prosperity of the rapidly growing industries with the middle and low income groups. Consider the following statements. Individuals, trust and non-profit making organizations are not eligible to raise external commercial borrowings. ECB for investment in the real sector, especially infrastructure sector, in India is allowed under the automatic route. Which of the statements given above is correct? This can answer option C, both 1 and 2. Consider the following statements. Regulation of the insider trading in the Indian secondary capital market is under the provision of SCBI. SCBI has been empowered to file complaints in the court and to notify its regulation without prior approval of the government. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? This can answer option C, both 1 and 2. Consider the following functions of the Foreign Exchange Management Act, FEMA. FEMA restricts activities such as payments made to any person outside India or receives from them. तो ये क्वेश्चन हम पहले भी देख चुके हैं और ये वही सेम क्वेश्चन है, फिर से देखते हैं. FEMA imposes restriction on people living in India who carry out transactions in foreign exchange, foreign security, or who own or hold immovable property abroad. FEMA regulates the exporters to furnish their export details to RBI. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? This can answer option A, 1, 2 and 3. Consider the following statements about the Indian capital market. The Security Exchange Board of India was set up in the 7th Five-Year Plan. The Capital Issue Control Act 1947 was repealed and replaced by the SCBI. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? This can answer option C, both 1 and 2. The Security Exchange Board of India was set up in the 7th Five-Year Plan, and the Capital Issue Control Act 1947 was repealed and replaced by the SCBI. What is the difference between a product market and a factor market? The demand for product is a direct demand, whereas factors have a derived demand. The price of the product is determined by the interaction of demand and supply of product, whereas the price of factors is determined by the interaction of demand and supply of the factors. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. This can answer option C, both 1 and 2. If the RBI adopts an expansionist open market operation policy, this means that it will buy securities from non-government holders, sell securities in the open market, offer commercial banks more credit in the open market, openly announce to the market that it intends to expand credit. This can answer option C, offer commercial banks more credit in the open market. A rise in Sensex means a rise in the prices of shares of all companies registered with Bombay Stock Exchange, a rise in the price of share of all companies registered with National Stock Exchange, an overall rise in the price of shares of a group of companies registered with Bombay Stock Exchange, a rise in price of shares of all companies belonging to a group of companies registered with Bombay Stock Exchange. This can answer option C, an overall rise in the prices of shares of a group of companies registered with Bombay Stock Exchange. Arrange the following in the descending order of the largest agricultural imports of India: pulses, wood and wood products, edible vegetable oils. तो इसमें डिसेंडिंग ऑर्डर में अरेंज करने के लिए बोला गया है, तो इसका आंसर होगा ऑप्शन डी, 3, 2, 1. एडिबल वेजिटेबल ऑयल पहले आएगा, फिर आएगा वुड एंड वुड प्रोडक्ट्स और लास्ट में आएगा पल्सेस. कंसिडर द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट्स. कोर इन्फ्लेशन इज एसेंशियली डिमांड ड्रिवन. Core inflation includes items that face volatile prices movement. Which of the following statements given above is or are correct? This answer is option A, only one. Core inflation is essentially demand driven. Which among the following are the credit rating agencies of India? CRISIL, CARE, ICRA, ONICRA. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी, ऑल ऑफ देम. CRISIL, CARE, ICRA and ONICRA. Which among the following is India's first expressway? Mumbai-Pune Expressway, Ahmedabad-Vadodara Expressway, दिल्ली गुड़गांव एक्सप्रेसवे, जयपुर किशनगढ़ एक्सप्रेसवे। तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए, मुंबई पुणे एक्सप्रेसवे। IMF कैन ग्रांट लोन टू एनी सोवरेन कंट्री ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, any sovereign country of the world and public sector companies backed by sovereign guarantee, any member country of IMF, any member country of IMF and public sector companies backed by sovereign guarantee of member country। तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, any member country of IMF। Who is among the following is considered to be a part of shadow banking in India? Business correspondents, bancassurance providers, non-banking financial companies, private banks, non-banking financial companies। तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, non-banking financial companies। One convention is most closely related to which of the following? Trade-related measures, copyright, agricultural market access, global warming। तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन बी, कॉपीराइट। तो इसी के साथ हमारा आज का टेस्ट सीरीज़ कंप्लीट हो गया है। और अगर आप चैनल पर नए हैं तो चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दीजिए और नोटिफिकेशन आइकन पर क्लिक कर दीजिए ताकि आपको सारे वीडियोस के अपडेट्स मिल सके। तो इससे पहले मैंने अलग अलग सब्जेक्ट्स का भी टेस्ट सीरीज़ किया है, आप चैनल पर जाके वो भी देख सकते हैं, उसका प्लेलिस्ट भी है, वो भी देख सकते हैं। और अगर आपको वीडियो अच्छा लगे तो लाइक कर दीजिए, साथ ही अपने दोस्तों के साथ शेयर कीजिए ताकि उन्हें भी हेल्प हो सके। तो हमारा ये वीडियो यहीं तक था। थैंक यू, थैंक्स फॉर वॉचिंग।